Hey everyone, it's Sam again here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I've just finished third year, thank God. So I just finished third year and that was my first year of medical school placement. And so I just want to talk about my experiences of doing that and talk about how I balanced doing that with other extracurricular things I had on the side, so doing music, church stuff and just things like that. And hopefully this video is helpful for someone who's trying to learn how to balance their time between doing medicine and doing other extracurriculars. And yeah, just hopefully it's helpful. The structure for third year was essentially we had obviously different blocks of placement. So we had 5 blocks. Oh, it's 10. So we had 5 blocks of placements. Essentially we're in different departments, you could say, of a hospital, learning different things, so cardiology, respiratory, surgery, things like that. Obviously we just kind of shadow the doctors and just learn from the ward, learn from the nurses, learn from just the healthcare professionals on the ward, essentially. So those are the main things to do on the ward at the hospitals. And then we also had certain things we were required to learn. Certain skills we were required to learn. So we were given an iPad, a free iPad. So the iPad just had a lot of skills we had to sign off to say that we had done for the year. And we had a certain amount of tasks to do for each week, for every week. So and apart from that, we also had online lectures that we learned from. So essentially it's kind of like problem-based learning all over again. So we had cases every week, and every week we learned something new. So this week would be a cardiology case, and then it'll be an asthma case, and then just every week was different. And so this was third year in a nutshell, and we had exams and yeah, and all that fun stuff. As you already know, this video is talking about a week in my life, so I'm just going to explain every day, but I'm going to tell you what a typical day is like for me, usually. So a typical day for me is very simple. So I have like a 9 to 5, so I go to hospital 9 to 5 typically, and I do whatever I need to do, so from the required lists. And then after the 9 to 5, I usually have some sort of extracurricular activity after. I think the requirement for most people is to sort of like, they go home and then I think they take a break and then they sort of look at the cases and like learn from them. I hardly did that, not gonna lie. I hardly did that just because it was, I just used to be tired and I just would do other extracurricular stuff. So all my learning had to be done in hospital, or like I used to like cram, which is not good, obviously. Don't cram. So that's a typical day. So 9 to 5 and then extracurricular. Now to make this video more interesting, I'm gonna talk about each of the different placements I've had for every day. So on Monday I'm gonna talk about my first placement. On Tuesday I'm gonna talk about my second placement, and so on and so forth. So Monday, my first block of placement was a cardiothoracic unit at the hospital. It was a cardiothoracic transplant unit specifically, and so that's just heart and lung transplant. And that was my first placement, and that was for 6 weeks, and that was kind of interesting. It was my first placement, so everything was still a bit new to me. I was still trying to figure out how to go through the wards, and the biggest thing for me there was just getting used to how things were done in the hospital. Just getting accustomed to the iPads, trying to sign off all the things I had to sign off. Overall, it was an okay placement. I don't think I really liked it. There were loads of cool opportunities to do cool things, but I didn't get to do them just because of I don't know, just things happen, luck and things like that. So for example, I didn't get to see a transplant, but I think that's just luck. It just depends on if there are actually any operations to be done, or if there was any new hearts and new lungs available. Obviously, I think one of the other students got to see I think it was a lung retrieval or a heart retrieval, I'm not sure, but essentially she got to see the moment where they take out someone else's heart, and and like preserve it and then transport it. And that was cool. She had to go in a helicopter and things like that. It was all cool. She told me about it. So yeah, there were loads of cool opportunities like that on the wards. And so it could have been interesting if I got that opportunity, but apart from that, I mean, it was alright, just getting accustomed to things. After a while, things got a bit, not gonna lie, boring, monotonous, and I just wanted to get my things done and go home. So there were some good things and bad things. So I think the main bad thing was that the wards that we were on, they had never had any students on the ward before, so they didn't really know how to, I guess, give us a good experience of the ward. I mean, yeah, apart from that, it wasn't too bad. So usually on Mondays I have French after placement. I think it starts at 8. It started at 6 p.m. and I would have to drive from the hospital. A lot of times drive straight from placement to my French lesson at the university, and it was just tiring essentially. And the last thing you want to do after a 9 to 5 is just come back and just learn more for 2 hours, 6 to 8. Yeah, it was a lot. For those of you guys wondering, so I go to University of Manchester, and in Manchester they do this thing called European Studies. Essentially you can learn European languages, so French, Spanish and German, or those are the 3 ones they do anyway, alongside with medicine, and it is sort of like medically centered. So we're learning medical French vocab, so we're learning how to say heart attack in French and things like that. I'm not going to speak French, I'm not going to embarrass myself. So that's why I study French for medicine, but trust me, it's the longest thing ever. Having the exams as well, because it's one of those things, like obviously you have your normal exams, your normal medicine exams, and if that's not enough, like you also have French exams, and they're always clashing, like they're always so close together. So sometimes you have to like revise for French like straight away after you've done an OSCE, or you have to like sacrifice some days of revising for your medicine exams for the French exam. I don't know why I did it to myself. I don't know why I'm studying it. I mean, I really like it and I really want to continue it. It's just a lot of work, but I mean, I recently actually went to France for placement there, which is a different whole story. I'm gonna do a whole video about that. Yeah, so Mondays tend to be my longest day because I go to placement and then I go to French, and by the time I'm done, I'm tired. Like I just want to go home, and I just want to sleep. Yeah, so that is Monday done. So Tuesday, same thing, 9 to 5, doing all my essential things. This time I'm on a different hospital, so this placement I'm on, I am doing a endocrinology placement, essentially just seeing a lot of diabetes. This was also interesting, so I was in a different hospital, so I had to go somewhere else, which was interesting, changing hospitals and seeing how different hospitals worked. Okay, so overall there were some good parts and bad parts. So at this hospital we had a very good teaching. I mean, we have like a teaching, a student area at the hospital, essentially that's where you just learn new skills and things like that. I think the teaching at this hospital was actually really good, and the staff over there were really good. Obviously we were being taught by some doctors and nurses and things like that, so it was actually really good, these teaching sessions, and we learned obviously different examinations and how to do different skills and things like that. So that was really good at this hospital. In terms of the placement itself, the placement was alright. I got to see really cool things, sometimes really manky things, you know, people missing like toes and things. Obviously with diabetes, one thing that can happen is patients have diabetic foot, and essentially they start losing their toes just because there's no good blood flow to parts of their feet, and so they just start losing it. It starts becoming necrotic, I would say, and just some nasty things. And I mean, I got to see actual podiatrists at a hospital, and they have to like take care of the wound of the patient and just things like that. And even though it was disgusting, it was interesting enough. Apart from that, it was kind of the same. So just trying to get through all my weekly placement things. Sometimes studying at the hospital, trying to, you know, get through my cases and things like that. yeah, it was pretty much like kind of the same. So 9 to 5 done. So on Tuesdays I usually have choir practice. So I do not sing. Yeah, I do not sing. So if you don't know already, so I play the piano. I sort of manage the choir, the youth choir at my church, and essentially I just teach them harmonies and play the piano for them as well. Because I have some sort of knowledge of music theory, I can like teach harmonies, and I don't sing the harmonies to them. I just play on the piano and they just like sing it back. And so I don't have to sing. I can't sing. But yeah, so that's what I usually do on Tuesday after my 9 to 5. And yeah, and they're pretty cool. They're a pretty cool bunch of people. That's something I've always done, being involved in choir, being involved in church. That's just something I do. It allows me to use my music, because if I didn't continue doing that, then I think I would just lose everything that I've had. So I just keep doing that, and that just helped me. And that's my day done usually on Tuesday. Okay, so Wednesday. So Wednesday, obviously, here we go, same thing, 9 to 5. This time I'm on the cardiology placement, and by far this was the most organized placement. It was really good in terms of giving us opportunities to see different things. So they were able to make it interesting by giving us like just really structured timetables to like do things without spending loads of time at the hospital. So there were days where I would actually not do a 9 to 5 and I'd do a 9 to like 1 or 9 to 2. And that's just because I would go in and do what I needed to do, and then just go home, rest, actually study. One of the few times I actually study at home and things like that. So I had really good clinics with the consultants. So I learned really cool things by just sitting on clinics. I saw different procedures done. Like for example, I got to see angiograms. So essentially, an angiogram is where they just put a wire through your arteries, going to your heart, and then they can inject a dye which allows them, using X-ray, to see if there are any blockages in your coronary arteries. So they give us like a list of things that we could do. We just had to book a time for. So that was really good, and really good doctors as well. I think the only bad thing I can really say about that placement was there wasn't a lot of opportunities to actually do some physical examinations and to get it signed off. So we could do examinations as much as we wanted, but the main thing was getting someone to watch us to sign off. And that is a big thing with the medical school, obviously. They want us to sign off, so that is evidence that we've done it, and then we can pass the placement essentially. So if we don't have someone watch us, then we can't sign off that we've actually done a cardiac exam. So that was a big problem. A lot of doctors were really busy on the wards, so sometimes I had to leave the wards and go to like a different ward, like a respiratory ward, to get my sign off done. But apart from that, I think it was a good placement, and it actually made me consider cardiology as a specialty. But in all honesty, nah, I don't think so. I think it was a cool placement, but I don't think I would actually want to do that for the rest of my career, as it were. In terms of extracurricular activities, so usually on Wednesday I don't have that much to do, so I just use that time to actually like really study. So Wednesday was like a buffer day for me. It was quite good. This day I was organizing an event called Creative Change. It was a charity music event to raise money for a homeless charity in Manchester called Barnabas, and that was something I was also doing on the side. So there was a lot of things I was doing around this time. So in that free period I had, I would just like organize and plan for that event, and that was fun. It's something I think I would want to do again. But yeah, that is essentially my Wednesday. So Thursday, so this is actually not 9 to 5 anymore, it's 8 to 5, and this is because I started my general surgery placement. So general surgery was, I think, overall it was the most interesting, and I think most medical students find like surgery and things like that the most exciting, just because that's what you see on TV as, you know, a doctor, you know, cutting stuff and yeah, things like that. So it was really interesting, and overall I would say if I had to rank my placements, I think this was probably the best one. It was structured and it was also interesting, and there were a lot of nice doctors on the ward. I think the best thing about this placement for me anyway was I had the opportunity to actually suture a patient like a real person, and that was really cool. So there was a particular doctor there that he was like, I'm gonna show you how to suture, come with me. So he showed me how to suture, and like next day he was like allowing me to suture a person in real life, obviously with guidance. Don't get scared. Obviously with guidance, he was watching me all throughout, and just being very hands-on. That was really cool. Just shadowing different doctors. I got to see like keyhole surgery, so using a camera. I think I saw a laparoscopic cholecystectomy, which is just a big word for saying they took out someone's gallbladder. Yeah, so just things like that was really cool. So overall, it was really interesting. I can't really say anything bad about the placement apart from starting earlier. The clinics were also interesting, and everything seemed to make sense. So I think it was the only placement where I could see a patient and see the symptoms and sort of immediately think, oh, I know what's wrong. I know what we could do for this patient. I know they need like a 2-week referral because there might be something suspicious going on here with this kind of symptoms. Like, you just kind of learn things like that as you talk to patients and as you're in the clinics as well. So it was really interesting, and I really like this placement. Doesn't mean I'm going to be a surgeon. I don't think I'm going to be a surgeon. It was just a really good placement, and it made me consider it. But I think I know myself, and I think I know that that kind of stress isn't for me. After my 8 to 5, Thursday is another day where I usually it's kind of like a buffer day. It varies what I do. So usually I could either have a rehearsal, so another rehearsal at church basically. There's also the adult choir, which is like the main choir, and sometimes I go to that rehearsal as well, just to learn from our music guy there, so the music director there, shout out Ezekiel. And yeah, just to learn different things about teaching harmonies, and yeah, depends on how free I am essentially. On this Thursday specifically, I went in for a rehearsal at church. I was rehearsing with the musicians at the youth church and just like practicing with them. So obviously everything was good for Sunday.
With the music, you can switch it off.
You're gonna embarrass my life! She does videos as well. She's a videographer and a video editor and a graphic designer. Marry her.
I like this show.
So that's what she did.
Hey,
oh,
who's that?
Me. Oh, that's you, bro! Shame! I'm Brent. My son, we love you! No?
And yeah, that is usually my Thursday. Okay, so Friday is usually it's the last day of the week. I usually cannot wait to leave placement. And it's most especially this placement. So Friday, so my last placement was interesting. So it was a cystic fibrosis unit. And essentially, it's kind of like respiratory medicine again. So remember, I've done respiratory before. That was at the cardiothoracic transplant unit, but just different kinds or different views, I guess, of respiratory health. So this was, I think, at first it was really interesting because cystic fibrosis is such a rare disease, and there's a specialist unit in the hospital I was at, and essentially they kind of know all the CF patients, cystic fibrosis CF patients, like in the city or maybe in the whole country. There's not a lot of people with CF, but it was like a specialist unit, and it was really good. I think the CF ward was amazing. It was really nice. I think because CF patients can get diseases kind of easily. You have to keep them in separate rooms, but the rooms are really like decked out. I think the hospital kind of like it had like a whole renovation for that unit anyway, so everything is really decked out and is like so different compared to the other hospitals. Yeah, so it was really interesting seeing patients with this obviously rare disease, and just talking to them about how they manage it and how they live with it. It was kind of the first time I saw patients of different ages. So a lot of the patients I had seen before were like elderly essentially. So from 40 years old and on, I had seen patients like that. So much older than I am, I would say. But on the CF ward, I saw like young patients younger than me. So patients like 16, 18, 20, and older patients 30. And so it was just really interesting to see young people and then older people and see how they manage with the disease and how it's affected them, and met some really cool people on the wards. Apart from that, it was an interesting placement. So there's a lot of teaching by the consultants, which is good, and a lot of the times consultants don't really have time to give teaching. If they do, it's usually once a week or twice a week, depending on who the consultant is. But on the CF wards, these consultants were on it, like they were teaching us all the time. Sometimes we would have teaching where it didn't make sense just to fit in something. I think they were trying to make up for the fact that there wasn't a lot to do on the wards. That was good, but a lot of times it was hindered other things that we could be doing. So I could have been getting more examinations done and getting more procedures done. I think if there were less teachings in that placement, maybe it would have been more interesting. Overall, it was okay. After a while, it got boring. I just wanted to get out of the placement. It was the last placement, so the next thing I wanted to focus on was exams. So instead of staying at hospital just till like 5 p.m. listening to someone speak, I just wanted to revise. It was really annoying for me, but that was how the placement was like. So usually on Fridays I usually use that as a time to chill, hang out with friends. There's not really much in terms of extracurriculars that I do. So I might go to the gym, and I don't go to the gym just once a week. I try to go as many times as I can. I try to make it 4 times a week. Sometimes it's not possible. So I just go whenever I can, when there's time. So on this particular Friday, I think there was a concert at my church. Yeah, more church stuff. This is essentially just me. So there was a concert at my church, and I was playing in the band, and it was a good Friday night. That's usually my Fridays done. Okay, to sign off, last thing I want to say is hopefully this video was interesting, and you have some sort of insight of what a week is like in my life, and how medical school placement was for me. I just want to encourage people doing medicine or going into medicine. Obviously it's not easy, but I think it's very important to just continue with the extracurricular stuff, because I think that's what kept me sane throughout the whole year, just because it would have been quite difficult to continue every day if I had no sort of break from that. So keep working hard, but also try to keep doing your other extracurricular things on the side, just to keep you sane. So hopefully this video is helpful, and I'll see you guys in another video.